Ford and Ram just dropped a warning that could send shockwaves through every corner of the American auto industry. We're not just talking about quarterly numbers or another temporary sales slump. This is something bigger, something that threatens an $847 billion market and could reshape the future of how Americans buy, drive, and even think about cars. The question isn't whether Detroit's giants can ride out another storm. The question is whether they'll still exist when the clouds finally clear. At the heart of this crisis is a story that feels almost painfully familiar. Meet Jennifer. She's a loyal Ram owner who's been driving her 2019 Ram 1500 for years. Like many Americans, she always believed in the tradition. Drive your truck for a few years, build some equity, then trade it in and upgrade to something new. That cycle was supposed to be reliable, part of the rhythm of American life. But when Jennifer walked into her local dealership recently, expecting to trade up, what she found was nothing short of devastating. Her truck, which she believed had held its value, was suddenly worth $8,000 less than she thought. The new model she had her eye on carried a sticker price $15,000 higher than the last time she checked. Overnight, the math stopped working. Loyalty had turned into punishment. Jennifer ran the numbers in her head. Even with a bigger down payment, even with a 7-year loan stretched to the breaking point, she couldn't make the payments work. That's when the dream of driving home in a new truck vanished. She walked out of the dealership empty-handed, her keys still in her pocket, and the pride she once felt as a Ram driver was replaced with frustration and disbelief. But Jennifer's story isn't just a personal setback, it's a warning shot. And millions of other buyers across the country are discovering the same painful truth. Showroom traffic is collapsing, contracts are being canceled mid-signature, and dealerships are left holding billions of dollars in inventory that nobody wants or can afford. For decades, the cycle was predictable. Trade in, trade up, drive away proud. But that rhythm has collapsed. What once felt like a reward for hard work is now a financial trap. And with every buyer who walks away, the foundation of Detroit's business model crumbles a little further. The numbers tell the story more brutally than any anecdote ever could. Stellantis, the parent company of Ram, Dodge, and Jeep, just reported a $2.7 billion loss in a single quarter. That's not just a tough break, that's catastrophic. Ford, meanwhile, set aside over $4 billion to cover soaring warranty costs and a tidal wave of recalls. These aren't just paper losses. They're the financial equivalent of arteries being cut, bleeding cash from companies that once looked invincible. And the real danger isn't just in the red ink. It's in the realization that the business model itself, the cycle of loyalty and upward mobility, has been shattered. For years, Detroit relied on trucks as its golden goose. Pickups weren't just vehicles. They were symbols of identity, wrapped in chrome, country music, and patriotism. A Ford F-150 or a Ram 1500 wasn't just a way to get from point A to point B. It was a badge of honor, a cultural marker that told the world you worked hard and earned your place. Behind the marketing, the math was irresistible. Trucks carried profit margins that sedans or compact cars could never match. On a $70,000 pickup, an automaker could clear $12,000 in profit, money that paid for research, covered recalls, and funded the next generation of vehicles. That formula worked for decades. Price hikes were absorbed. Loan terms stretched longer and longer, from 72 months to 84 and even 96 months. Buyers shrugged and signed anyway, driven by tradition, loyalty, and the dream of ownership. The cycle was self-reinforcing. Manufacturers raised prices, dealers pushed new incentives, and customers lined up. But that cycle has finally broken. And what caused the break wasn't just inflation or corporate greed. It was a perfect storm that began half a world away. Back in 2020, the global supply chain snapped. Factories in Asia shut down. Ports backed up. Microchips, the tiny components that power everything from transmissions to touchscreens, suddenly disappeared. Without chips, assembly lines in Michigan and Kentucky ground to a halt. Trucks sat unfinished. Dealers sat empty-handed. And when inventory dried up, something strange happened. Prices exploded. A 2-year-old F-150 or Ram 1500 sold for more than its original sticker price. Depreciation, that old enemy of car buyers, suddenly vanished. But scarcity breeds arrogance. Automakers misread the moment. Stellantis, in particular, led the charge, raising prices on Ram trucks faster than any rival. Ford followed suit, cutting rebates, trimming incentives, and pushing monthly payments past $750 on average. Buyers, desperate to get their hands on a truck, stretched themselves thin. They rolled negative equity into new loans. They signed up for 84-month terms, then 96. It was a house of cards. And when the chip shortage finally eased, the reckoning arrived. Wholesale values collapsed. Trade-in offers plummeted by $8,000 or more in just a few months. Families who thought they were upgrading discovered they were trapped in loans worth more than the vehicles themselves. And suddenly, the scarcity that had driven profits flipped into a glut. Dealers found themselves flooded with inventory, watching customers vanish as quickly as they once rushed in. The dealerships themselves are now fighting for survival. On a hot July afternoon in Indiana, one dealer principal stared at a lot packed with unsold trucks. His numbers told a story no business could withstand. A 113-day supply of new vehicles, nearly double what's considered healthy. Each truck carried its own loan, known as a floor plan, and the costs were spiraling. In 2020, keeping that inventory might have cost $20,000 a month. Now, the same lot was bleeding $115,000 monthly in interest, insurance, and depreciation. Floor plan rates had jumped from 3% to nearly 9%, eating through any remaining profits. Dealers across the Midwest reported the same nightmare. Balloon payments looming. Overflow lots cost thousands more. Banks were threatening foreclosure if vehicles didn't move. Incentives barely covered the interest, and the quiet showroom floors told the story in hushed tones. Every unsold truck wasn't just steel and rubber. It was a liability, a ticking time bomb waiting to pull another dealership under. For hundreds of local family-owned businesses, the dream of passing the dealership to the next generation is evaporating one interest payment at a time. And the pain doesn't stop at the business level. It's seeping into driveways and kitchen tables across America. Take Rhea, another loyal Ram driver. She bought her Rebel back in 2017, when the numbers still made sense. A modest loan, a reliable truck, and the belief that her vehicle would hold its value. But that belief is gone. Her trade-in value has dropped more than 25% from its peak, leaving her underwater. The dealership's offer didn't even cover her remaining balance. Trapped in a loan on a truck she can't sell and can't replace, Rhea sits at her table staring at payments that grow heavier each month. Her story echoes across the nation. Delinquency rates on auto loans have climbed back to levels last seen in 2009. Nearly 1 in 20 borrowers is more than 60 days behind. Repossession agents are working overtime, and for every viral video of a truck being towed away, there are thousands more families quietly struggling, forced to choose between making the payment or putting food on the table. The crisis isn't just financial, it's emotional. It's the erosion of trust, the collapse of a promise that trucks once symbolized stability and upward mobility. And just as families lose faith, the industry faces new headwinds. Tariffs on Chinese battery components are about to add at least $1,500 to the cost of every electric truck rolling off the line. For automakers already struggling to break even on EVs, this is a blow that could turn fragile experiments into financial sinkholes. Stellantis estimates tariffs will drain $1.5 billion from its bottom line in a single year. Ford faces the same reality, watching margins shrink as prices climb beyond the reach of average buyers. Analysts now warn that as many as 1 in 4 mid-sized dealerships could be forced to close their doors within the next year. That's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. That's thousands of family businesses, thousands of jobs, and countless communities losing anchors of economic activity. The crisis is real, and it's accelerating. Inside Detroit's boardrooms, the mood is shifting from anxious to desperate. Ford's CEO recently told executives in no uncertain terms, the company faces an existential risk, not from competition or technology, but from something more fundamental. The buyers themselves are disappearing. Stellantis, reeling from its $2.7 billion quarterly loss, is debating whether to slash prices, double down on electric trucks, or plead for government relief. But none of those solutions fix the core problem. Americans no longer trust the cycle. The trade-in, trade-up ritual is broken. And that's the terrifying truth Ford and Ram executives are whispering in closed-door meetings. This isn't just a temporary slump. It's a collapse of the model that sustained the American auto industry for decades. Trucks once guaranteed profits. Now they threaten to bankrupt the very companies that built their empires on them. So what comes next? Will Detroit reinvent itself, adapting to new consumer behaviors and rebuilding trust? Or will the industry shrink, leaving behind only the strongest survivors and memories of what once was? For now, all we know is this: Ford and Ram's warning isn't just about balance sheets or boardrooms. It's about the future of the American car market itself. And the next chapter hasn't been written.